Are you letting hunger rule your hours? For 90 days you will either rebuild yourself or finish what 30 careless years began. This reset is surgical. It severs cheap pleasures, isolates the flame, and forces desire to be useful. In a world designed to scatter your energy, a deliberate, relentless 90-day program can convert craving into razor focus and impulsive heat into sustained power. Promise. Follow this plan, and you will feel your attention harden, your output multiply, and your private hunger become the engine of achievement. You arrive at the threshold with hands still trembling from the weight of your old habits. They cling to you like cobwebs soaked in honey, sticky, deceptive, comforting, but rotten. The 90-day reset does not begin with hope. It begins with violence. Every transformation worth the name demands an incision. There is no slow weaning. There is no polite negotiation. There is only the blade. You must cut. Cut quickly. Cut brutally. Cut without nostalgia. The first cut is the declaration of war against your lesser self. Society tells you to indulge carefully, to moderate, to balance. Moderation is the coward's gospel. It allows you to taste poison so long as you sip it from a smaller cup. But you know the truth. You have drunk deep for years, and moderation is just relapse in disguise. That is why you stand here, trembling with the blade in your hand. Imagine yourself as a surgeon operating without anesthesia. The patient is you. The tumor is your indulgence, your wasted hours, your parasitic pleasures. Delay means death. Precision means rebirth. You must carve out the cancer. If you hesitate, if you'll flinch, you will stitch the wound back together with rot still inside. And rot spreads. Always. Pause. Breathe. Do it. Delete every app that drags your attention into sludge. Block every channel that drips poison into your brain. Erase the contacts who only echo weakness. Tonight, let your phone feel like a coffin, hollowed, emptied, silent. Tomorrow, let your desk feel like a monastery, bare, austere, waiting. You are amputating, not rearranging. Do not expect comfort. Expect bleeding. The first cut awakens the shadow, that inner servant. The obedient slave who has grown fat and sly from your years of indulgence will scream. It will whisper bargains keep, who's won only on weekends. Why throw it all away? Its voice is oily, serpentine, sweet. This is not your friend. This is your parasite fighting for survival. Every concession is oxygen to its lungs. Do not feed Italiano. Let it suffocate. Machiavelli wrote that cruelty, when necessary, should be delivered in one decisive stroke, not stretched over days. The same law rules here. Cruelty against the self must be immediate, not gradual. A prince who hesitates loses his throne. A man who dithers loses his will. Strike once, and the wound will heal. The cut hurts because it separates you from anesthesia. For years, you have used pleasure as numbing agent, a drip feed of tiny narcotics, to dull the edge of your own dissatisfaction. Without them, the world is raw. Colors feel harsher. Time feels longer. Silence feels unbearable. This is the point. Pain is proof that the knife has reached the infection. Your cravings will panic. They will scatter like rats exposed to the light. You will feel the itch in your hands, the burn in your eyes, the gnawing in your gut. This is not weakness. This is withdrawal. The wound is open. The healing has begun. Pause here. Let the silence spread. Understand this. If you survive the first week of the cut, you survive the reset. Most men never cross this gate because they believe they can negotiate with their addictions. They believe they can leash fire. Fire does not obey. It consumes. The only option is to smother it or be devoured. Your ritual begins tonight. Burn something. Not metaphorically, physically. Take a notebook, a symbol, a trinket of your indulgence, and incinerate it. Watch the smoke rise. This is your funeral for the old self. Ashes are honest. They cannot lie about what has been lost. Let them coat your fingers, Smell the char on your clothes. Every time you waver, remember the fire. The first cut is not about what you gain. It is about what you kill. Gains will come later. Clarity, energy, power. But tonight you are only a murderer, slaying the part of you that fed on comfort. Be ruthless. If you hesitate, the corpse will rise again. Nietzsche warned, he who cannot command himself will always be commanded. With this cut, you take command. Your body will resist. Your mind will scream. But command is forged in resistance, not in ease. The general who inherits obedience without war never earns loyalty. Your will must conquer its own army of impulses. You will be tempted to hide your cut, to pretend you are merely adjusting or experimenting. That is cowardice. Declare it openly to yourself. Say the words aloud. It ends here. I cut you out. Speak it to the mirror. Burn it into the air. Words are contracts. Bind yourself with them. Do not wait for support. Do not wait for applause. No one else needs to see your blood. The cut is private, sacred, and solitary. Let others laugh, mock. They are still sipping their poison, still cradling their tumors. Their fate is not yours. Understand this law. Every addiction is a leash, and every leash has a hand at the other end. When you cut, you not only sever the habit, but also the hidden master who fed on your weakness. It may be the corporations selling your attention. It may be the phantom of your past, self-clinging to comfort. It may be the collective society whispering, "Consumer, consumer, consumer." All of them bleed when you cut, and you will feel their claws trying to hold on. Reap, Tim, free pause. Harden your breath. Repeat, the leash is gone. This chapter is your initiation. You will not feel powerful yet. You will feel hollow. That hollow is the furnace, not the grave. It is the room where power will be forged, but only if you defend the cut. If you stitch the wound shut prematurely, if you reach for comfort again, the infection spreads deeper and harder to reach. One cut, one strike, one chance. Take it now. Burn, delete, block, sever. The blade has fallen. The old self is bleeding out. The cut has been made, the tumor torn from your flesh. Yet in the hollow where it once lived, a new force awakens. Hunger. Not the simple hunger of the body, but the deeper gnawing of a mind, stripped of its narcotics. The leash is gone, but the phantom of its pull remains. Every morning you wake with the itch. Your fingers twitch towards old patterns, muscle memories seeking its drug. Your eyes search for familiar screens. Your body aches for the warmth of old toxins. This is the ghost limb of your addiction. You cut it off, but your nervous system still screams as though it remains. These screams are your hallucinations. Society tells you hunger is weakness. They drug it, shame it, feed it with sugar, sex, or distraction. But hunger, when mastered, is the first taste of power. Hunger is raw energy, sharpened by deprivation. What you feel gnawing inside you is not failure. It is the furnace roaring to life. Pause. Do not run from it. Sit in it. Let the hunger speak. It will not speak in words. It will whisper in urges, in visions, in grotesque hallucinations. You will imagine indulgence so vividly you can taste it. Your brain, desperate for the old flood of chemicals, will conjure phantoms. The glowing body of a woman, the flashing lure of a screen, the sweet taste of an easy escape. These visions are not reality. They are your shadow, fat and panicked, dressed in illusions to seduce you back into slavery. Jung called it the trickster, the shadow that mocks you, tempts you, feeds you riddles. In Tispase, your shadow does not fight with chains, but with it makes you believe you are starving when in truth you are feeding for the first time. Feeding on your own raw willpower. The hunger will make time stretch. A single hour will feel like a day, a single day like a week. This is why weak men collapse in the early days of their reset. They misinterpret time dilation as failure, but the distortion of time is proof that your nervous system is you are reprogramming your perception. Reality is shifting. Do not seek distraction. Do not seek escape. You must sit in the hunger like a monk sits in silence, like a soldier sits in the trench, like a beast sits in the dark waiting for its prey. Endurance is not passive. It is active war. Every second you refuse indulgence is a dagger in the ribs of your old self. Pause. Listen to the silence around you. You may hallucinate more than pleasure. You may hallucinate failure. You will hear the voice of the inner servant telling you, you cannot last. You are not strong enough. You will break. These hallucinations are the last flares of a dying army, desperate to trick you into surrender. Do not debate them. Do not argue. Repeat the law. I do not negotiate with weakness. Here lies your first rule of hunger. Never feed hallucinations. Not with indulgence, not with rationalization, not even with hate. Let them burn themselves out. Hallucinations are flames. If you touch them, they scorch you. If you ignore them, they consume themselves. The hunger phase is not eternal. The body adapts. The nervous system stabilizes, but only if you hold the line. Think of the Spartan phalanx. Shields locked, soldiers unbroken, absorbing the storm. Your willpower is that shield wall. If one man collapses, the line breaks. If you collapse, the shadow reclaims command. But if you endure, something changes. Slowly, subtly, almost and in their place comes clarity. A silence sharper than any blade. It is in this silence that power germinates. Nietzsche spoke of becoming hard. This hardness does not arrive through comfort. It is born from sitting in hunger until hunger becomes your fuel. You begin to realize you can live without the leash. More. You realize you are stronger without it. The hallucinations once terrifying now appear pathetic, like carnival masks melting in the rain. Micro-action for this phase. Fast. Not for food, but for pleasure itself. Choose 1 hour a day where you sit without phone, without music, without entertainment. Sit with nothing but hunger. Train the mind to feed on emptiness. This is your gym. This is your weapon. The hunger will teach you a truth. You were not addicted to pleasure. You were addicted to escape. And now, with no escape, you face yourself. This confrontation is unbearable for most. That is why 90 days feels like 90 years. You are not resisting temptation. You are confronting your reflection. Pause. Let that truth sink like iron into your skull. When you emerge from hunger, you are no longer the same. The hallucinations do not vanish completely. They linger like shadows at the edge of firelight. But you have learned their trick. They no longer command. They beg, and you can smile at their desperation. You are the master now. This is the point where many men relapse. Not in the storm of hunger, but in the calm after it. They believe victory means they can taste poison again without consequence. This is the shadow's last card. Complacency, do not fall for it. Hunger may weaken, but the leash remains hidden, waiting for your hand. If you grasp it again, it binds tighter than before. End this chapter with steel. Hunger is not your enemy. Hunger is your sword. The hallucinations are not demons. They are smoke. Slice through them. Endure them. Command them. The hunger sharpens. The hallucinations fade. You emerge harder, colder, and ready for the fire to come. The hunger has tempered you. The hallucinations have begun to retreat like smoke chased by wind. What remains is a raw and sharpened silence. Within this silence lies the ember. Tiny at first, fragile, almost invisible. Yet if you guard it, if you feed it correctly, it erupts into a fire. This fire is called focus. Most men never feel it. Their days are scattered fragments, attention shattered like broken glass. They live in perpetual distraction, chained to impulses, sedated by They cannot hold a thought for more than a heartbeat. Their eyes flicker, their souls stutter. They have no fire, only ash. But you are no longer most men. You have endured hunger. You have seen the tricks of hallucinations and survived their deceit. Now you stand before the furnace. The question is whether you can ignite it and whether you can hold it. Pause. Breathe slowly. Focus is not a gift. It is not inherited, nor is it found in the shallow slogans of productivity merchants. Focus is war. It is the violent subjugation of chaos. When you focus, you chain the wild horses of the mind, force them into formation, and drive them in a single direction. Each thought becomes a soldier. Each breath, a step. The scattered fragments become a spear. Think of the ancient warrior at the forge, hammering raw iron into a blade. Heat, pressure, repetition. This is how steel is made. The same law applies to your mind. The hunger phase was the fire. Now comes the hammer. Focus is forged. Yet beware, for here enters a new antagonist, the parasite of distraction. It does not shout like hunger. It does not seduce like hallucinations. It whispers. It tells you there is always something more urgent. It pulls your attention an inch at a time, bleeding your energy in droplets until you are hollow. The parasite thrives in subtlety. It feeds not on failure, but on drift. History is filled with men who understood fire and focus. Napoleon, with his iron will, was said to sleep little but burn through hours of strategy with eyes that never wavered. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, wrote in his journal amidst war and plague, each line carved with the fire of focus. Their power was not mere intelligence. It was the ability to hold thought against the storm. Micah rule: create a fortress of time. 1 hour, non-negotiable. 1 sacred hour each day where you work on the highest demand of your spirit, without interruption, without compromise, phone silent, doors closed, mind locked. Guard it with your life. At first, the fire will flicker. You will feel restless, distracted, agitated. This is normal. Your nervous system, once addicted to novelty, now rebels against stillness. But hold. The ember will expand. And then, like a sudden spark, you will taste at that state where minutes vanish, where the world collapses into a single point, where you are no longer scattered but whole tissues focus. Pause. Let yourself imagine the fire. There is a danger, however. Fire consumes. If you direct it blindly, it burns everything without distinction. Focus without discipline is obsession. An obsession without structure devours its master. Therefore, your fire must be aimed. You must decide what the fire is for. A blade forged without purpose is just a shard of metal. A fire without direction is only destruction. Thus, the law: choose your target. One goal, carved in stone. Write it, speak it, memorize it. Your fire must be fed into that single furnace, or it will dissipate into smoke. Micro rule: for the next 90 days, choose one goal only. Not 10, not 5, 1. Anything more scatters the flame. Ask yourself, what is the single conquest worthy of this fire? Once chosen, every act of focus bends to it. Every hour, every decision, every refusal. The parasite will resist. It will whisper, why not multitask? Why not diversify? Why not scatter yourself? Reject it. Multitasking is the religion of slaves. Focus is the weapon of kings. Consider Alexander the Great. He did not conquer the world in fragments. He chose a direction eastward and poured all fire into it until empires collapsed. That is, focus ruthless, singular, devouring. The fire of focus will change you in ways you cannot yet imagine. At first it feels unnatural, forced, even painful. But as days turn into weeks, the fire begins to sustain itself. You will notice strange phenomena. Distractions lose their flavor, temptations feel dull, time feels pliable in your grip. This is not illusion. This is transformation. Your brain is reconfiguring itself around the fire. Pause. Hear this truth. Focus is rare. Rare things are valuable. And what is valuable is power. When you cultivate focus, you separate yourself from the herd. The herd cannot sit in silence. The herd cannot hold fire without being burned. But you wield it as weapon and shield. You become dangerous, not in noise, not in chaos, in silence, in fire, in concentration so fierce it unnerves those around you. Micro-action. Train the fire daily, not through force, but through ritual. Begin with breath. Count each inhalation, as if it were a soldier lining up in formation. 10 breaths, 20. Then begin your work. Do not stop until the fire carries you. This ritual anchors the flame. This is where the hunger leads. This is where the hallucinations point. You suffered them not to remain weak, but to be initiated into fire. Most men burn out in the hunger, others drown in hallucination. But you'll pass through both and arrive at the furnace of focus. The chapter closes with this command: hold the fire. Feed it, aim it. Let it consume the parasite of distraction until only silence and steel remain. And as the fire of focus burns, something greater begins to emerge. A new structure, a disciplined order, a kingdom built within your own mind. You have fire now. It burns in your chest and mind, a weapon sharpened by hunger and tempered by silence. But fire alone is not enough. Fire is wild. Fire is restless. Fire can consume its master if left unchecked. What you need now is not more heat, but structure. Not more energy, but form. And this is where the fortress must rise, the fortress of discipline. Discipline is the architecture of power. It is the stone walls that hold the fire in place, preventing it from spilling into chaos. Without discipline, the energy you have forged will scatter, turning back into the restless fragments of ordinary men. Discipline does not care about your feelings. Discipline does not negotiate. Discipline is the law. Pause. Feel the weight of this word, law. Most men resist it. They think freedom means no structure, no chains, no rules. They are wrong. Freedom without discipline is slavery to impulse. He who rejects law becomes servant to appetite. This is why the herd drifts endlessly, promising themselves change, yet circling the same patterns for years. They are trapped, not by society, but by their refusal to build their own fortress. Discipline is not a mood. It is not motivation. It is not the fleeting surge you feel after watching a speech or a film. Discipline is repetition. Cold, unromantic, merciless repetition. It is the same act done again and again until it carves itself into your marrow. Nietzsche called it the long obedience in the same direction. A man who lacks this obedience is nothing more than a slave dressed as a free man. But here lies the paradox. Discipline is a cage that liberates. Once built, it shields you from the storms of weakness. Imagine a warrior inside a fortress while chaos rages outside. Arrows, fire, screams. He remains unbroken, not because the storm is weak, but because his walls are strong. This is what you must build now. The antagonist in this chapter is the inner rebel. Unlike hunger or hallucination, unlike the parasite of distraction, the rebel lives inside you. It whispers against the law. It resents structure. It tells you, not today, not now, not yet. It dresses itself in excuses, fatigue, busyness. Tomorrow, if you listen, the fortress never rises. The fire burns itself out in smoke. Micro-rule. Ritualize your mornings. The first hour belongs to discipline. No negotiations, no bargaining. Choose 3 acts that anchor you: movement, stillness, creation. It may be training the body, it may be meditation, it may be writing, but once chosen, they are non-negotiable. This is your daily. Each repetition adds a brick to the fortress wall. Think of Marcus Aurelius, waking before dawn to write his meditations. He was emperor of the known world, yet he anchored himself in ritual. He did not wait for peace or leisure. He built discipline inside the storm. Or consider the samurai whose lives were bound by the code of Bushido. Their days were carved by ritual. Their freedom came through form. Pause. Ask yourself, what are your walls made of? Discipline must be visible. Not vague intentions. Visible. A fortress is not drawn in air. It is stone, mortar, weight. So too must your discipline manifest in action, time, routine. Decide the hour you rise. Decide when you work. Decide how you train. Then obey Aviv. This obedience is not weakness. It is sovereignty. Micro rule. Write one law each week. A single commandment for yourself. Post it where you see it. This is no affirmation. This is a decree. Obey it as though it were carved into your flesh. When the rebel whispers against it, you crush him with the law. The inner rebel will not vanish. He will attack at your weakest moments when you are tired, lonely, wounded. He will disguise himself as self-care, as compassion, as reason. But you must know him for what he is. Betrayal. He seeks to collapse the fortress from within. Recognize him, expose him, and with every act of obedience, you silence his treason. History remembers not the passionate, but the disciplined. Hannibal, crossing the Alps with elephants, succeeded not by fire alone, but by disciplined feeding troops, maintaining formation, enforcing order in ice and mountain. Julius Caesar marched legions across Europe, not through bursts of energy, but through the cold machinery of discipline. These men built fortresses within themselves long before they conquered empires. Pause. Imagine your fortress. Stone walls rising day after day. Each law a block. Each ritual a tower. The gates are narrow. Not everything enters. Inside, there is silence. Inside, there is fire. Inside, there is order. Outside, the herd rages in distraction and chaos, but you remain unmoved. Micro-action. Choose one weakness today and chain it. If your weakness is sleep, command the hour you rise. If your weakness is food, command the meal you eat. If your weakness is distraction, command the ritual of focus. Chain one weakness, and the fortress strengthens. The law is simple. Repetition builds stone. Each day, you lay another brick. Each refusal to obey the rebel is mortar. Do this for 90 days, and you will stand in a fortress no enemy can breach. Do this for years, and you will become the fortress itself. The fire burns within, but it no longer rages wildly. It glows steady, feeding the engines of conquest. You have moved beyond hunger, beyond illusion, beyond distraction. You have entered the realm of structure. The walls rise higher. The gates close tighter. The silence inside grows deeper. The fortress of discipline is not the end. It is the foundation. From within these walls, something else will rise. A figure both feared and admired. A ruler not only of himself, but as a king in silence. And in that silence, the shadows will stir. For what rises next is darker still. The transformation of restraint into raw power. You have endured hunger. You have walked through shadows. You have resisted the parasite of distraction. You have built the fortress of discipline. Now, at the end of 90 days, the question is no longer whether you have energy or whether you can control it. The question is what you will become. For these 90 days were never about suppression. They were about transmutation. The raw hunger, the restless urge, too wildfire. They were not your enemies. They were unrefined gold, molten and unstable. Waiting to be forged, now the metal is cooled, hammered, and shaped. The kingdom is no longer outside you. It is within you. Pause. Let that settle. The kingdom within is not a fantasy. It is not a metaphor. It is a real condition of being, a psychological empire in which you are ruler, lawgiver, and executioner. Most men never build it. They drift, forever dependent on society's voices, their moods, their fleeting urges. They chase power outside themselves, while their inner domain remains lawless and weak. They are emperors without thrones, kings without crowns. But you You have built the walls. You have silenced the rebel. You have fed the fire and kept it steady. Now, the kingdom awaits its ruler. Inside this kingdom, there is hierarchy. Your mind sits as king, but not the soft mind of comfort, the sharpened mind of sovereignty. Your body becomes the army, disciplined and hardened. Your emotions are the council, useful when ordered, dangerous when left unchecked. Your desires are the raw resources, mined and directed, no longer allowed to riot and consume. Everything has its place. Nothing escapes command. The antagonist now is the outer king, the false ruler. He lives in the world beyond your walls. He's society's projection of what a man should be. Docile, distracted, endlessly consuming, forever dependent. He promises you thrones of gold, but they are paper crowns. He tells you power is money without mastery, pleasure without cost, success without sovereignty. If you kneel to him, your inner kingdom collapses. Your fortress becomes a ruin. Your fire returns to smoke. History is filled with men who bowed to the outer king and lost themselves. Think of Neo, emperor of Rome, consumed by decadence until his empire burned around him, or of countless generals who, after conquering lands, were conquered by wine, women, and spectacle. They won battles outside, but lost the war within. Contrast them with Marcus Aurelius, who ruled both Rome and himself. His enemies could march against his legions, but none could breach his inner empire. His journals were not for display, but for command. His fortress stood until death. This is the model of the inner kingdom, the sovereignty that cannot be overthrown. Pause. Picture your throne. It is not made of gold or stone. It is made of silence, repetition, and law. When you sit upon it, you are not moved by storms of emotion, nor by whispers of the herd. Your will becomes decree, your actions, legislation, your very presence, law. Men feel it, women sense it. The world responds, often without understanding why. This is why the 90 days matter. They are a coronation. Without them, your crown is counterfeit. With them, it is forged in fire and silence. Micro-rule. Speak less. Command through presence. In the kingdom within, words are costly, and each one must be a decree. Train yourself to let silence dominate. Where others babble, you will remain still. Where others plead, you will observe. The less you say, the more weight each word carries. Micro-rule. Guard the gates. Not every influence enters your kingdom. Decide what you allow into your mind. The books, the images, the voices. Weak kings open their gates to every traveling circus. Strong kings are selective. Choose what strengthens. Expel what weakens. Micro-rule. Issue a weekly decree. One law, one standard. One command that shapes not only your day, but your identity. Repeat it until it becomes blood. Then move to the next. This way, the kingdom expands, stronger, larger, deeper. The outer king will keep tempting you. He will use women, wealth, spectacle, promises of instant triumph. He will show you thrones of ease, pleasures, without effort. But you now know the truth. These are not empires. They're cages disguised as palaces. And once you bow to him, the fire you cultivated is extinguished. The kingdom within is not about abstaining forever. It is about ruling desire rather than being ruled by it. You may return to the world, but you return as sovereign, not a servant. Your hunger is now a weapon, your energy, an army, your discipline, a fortress, your silence, a crown. Pause, breathe. Imagine yourself walking into the world now. You are not louder. You are not frantic. You are not desperate. You carry yourself as one who has mastered an empire invisible to others, but undeniable in its force. They feel it in your eyes. They hear it in your silence. They sense it in your restraint. This is what Jung meant by the integrated shadow. This is what Nietzsche envisioned as the Bermensch. Not a man without desire, but a man who commands it utterly. The 90 days are over. You stand before your throne. The crown is yours if you claim it, not with noise, not with begging, but with presence. Sit upon it. Rule. From this day, you no longer live as a fragment. You live as a kingdom. And kingdoms, when ruled well, do not merely endure. They expand. The fire is steady. The fortress stands. The crown rests upon your head. The kingdom within is awake, and the world outside will soon feel its shadow.